Hello, screenwriters and regular writers. Welcome to Writing for Screens, writing my novel Progress Report number 12. My name is Glenn Gers, and I am the whole thing at Writing for Screens, a channel which tries to give you some skills and tools and insights into the process of writing stuff for any kind of screen, which I gathered in teaching myself during a 25-year career writing for TV and movies. On my way out of the business, I am trying to leave behind some of the stuff I had to teach myself so that you don't have to go reinvent the wheel. There's stuff that it may be useful to you, it may be not. There is no system. There are no rules. There is no right or wrong way to be an artist. Every artist has to figure out what kind of artist they want to be, what kind of work they want to do, who they are and how they work. You got to figure out all that for yourself. That is part of the job. You can't go to some authority and have them say, you're this kind of person, work in the morning and write 12 pages a day. Doesn't work like that. You have to figure it out for yourself. I'm here to try and give you some thoughts on how to do that. I'm not going to tell you the right answer. I'm going to tell you the right questions. In order to do that, on my channel, this is a little screen grab of the channel main page. And then if you look down, you'll see on the first 3 playlists are called Screenwriting Essentials, Screenwriting Tools, Skills, and Craft, and The Process, Being a Writer. So in these, it's about 50 10-minute videos in which I have tried to condense down any bit of information that I think is useful on a topic, like flashbacks, character, dialogue. Just look over the thumbnails. You'll see it there in bright, colorful words. The title and the thumbnail tell you the topic, and that is all you need to do to browse through, see what works for you and what doesn't. If there's anything you want to know from me, look there first, because I probably said it there. I spent a long time on those videos, so therefore, if I have it to say, it's probably said there and probably said better than I will say any other time. So let's get to it. In the course of this, I am also doing live streams every Wednesday, 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. That's what we're doing today. There's always a different topic. One of the things I'm doing is, because I am indeed getting out of the business, I am retired from screenwriting and writing a novel. And every once in a while, every few weeks now, I'm doing a little report on what it's been like for me, hoping to share my process in case that is useful to those of you who don't write for screens but want to write some kind of fiction. Okay. So I'm going to do a short one, as I may have mentioned in the description. I've got a cold, so I'm not going to run a full hour today, probably about half an hour, 40 minutes, and then I'm going to conk out because I don't know how much of my voice there is. Okay, let me say hi to everyone. Hi, Donna and Doug and Gregor and Just Paul and Learn to Teach. Hi, hey, how are you? Yes, thank you. I hope I feel better soon too. I think I will. It's just a cold. Oh gosh, Nathan, I am so sorry. Here's the thing. Okay, this is a big question, so I'm gonna stop everything to answer it. You don't want to entirely find the beat again and write through sorrow. Partly you want to stop and feel your feelings. You want to stop and say, this is a moment in my life. I don't need to somehow turn it into something else. I don't need to get past it or resolve it. Sometimes you just need to be in it and let it teach you and be for you what it is, because these are parts of life. So that's my personal opinion. My other opinion would be the thing I'm going to talk about today, which is when you're writing and it's hard, if there's stressful things in your life or painful things, or you're just a little worried about how to do it, you don't really know that well, small steps over time. That's my biggest advice. Anything you do, I'm going to talk about it again later, but let me just mention, I did a video called Small Steps, and that's what it's about. It's about the fact that as you work, it's not your whole life. It's just a little step, and it's not the whole work. It's just a little step, and that's what gets you through. I'm going to talk more about that in terms of my own stuff. There's always stuff in life. Sometimes it's big, like someone close to you passing away, or your whole world changing, or you lose your job, or you get a job, or you have a child, or your child moves out and goes to college. Who knows? Whatever it is, it's a big change. There's always changes. The one thing you can count on in life is things change. So therefore, you want to figure out a routine that when you go back to it, even if you don't go for a while, or even if it's having a hard time, that little bit of that routine is familiar enough that you can do it. The way I try to put it is like walking. You don't think about how to walk. Even on a hard day, you're going to, oh yeah, I need to get over there. I'm going to move my legs and they're going to go like that. You want your writing ritual to be like that, something that you've done so many times in small steps and figured it out and fallen down, so that you can, when you need to get somewhere, think about how to get there and what the terrain is like and the weather and everything else, and you'll just walk. So my answer would be, if you are going through something difficult, if you think it will help you, if you think it will be a good thing to do for you emotionally, to take a little time out to keep writing, do it. Just do a little bit, a small step, and you do the same process every time, so that you don't have to worry, am I doing it right? Am I doing it wrong? Is this working? Just do the same process every time. You'll figure out your process. Okay, so that's my condolences. I'm very, very sorry that your mom passed, and all I can say is, don't be in too much of a hurry to get past things. Let them in. Okay. Hi, Michael. Hello, Heath. Yes. Thank you. That's very nice. Gamed 21. Hi. How are you? Nice to meet you. I've never had you on before that I know of. Thank you. I will. It's just a cold. It will be over soon. I'm already pretty good. Hi, Najo and Doreen. Okay. Yeah. This is it's, it's part of your life. You're live your life. That's always the most important thing about being an artist. You also need to live your life. Donna says she finds poetry to be deeply helpful for feeling and expressing grief. Yeah, like if you need to write in a different form, that can happen. That can be a thing. Nathan, I hope you're looking at the comments. A lot of people are expressing their care for you. So let's just take a moment to be glad about that. We all will suffer losses. We all will need to live our lives. So my advice is, let yourself feel it. Don't try and fix it or push it away. Okay. Interesting. I did not know this. Learn to Teach says the best novel written in deep grief was Interview with the Vampire. I had no idea, although if you think about it, that makes sense. If you are feeling grief about loss, you might end up writing something about people who never die, and thinking about the difficulties of that. Wow, that's a cool little tidbit. Anyway, thank you. Hi, YPS. You are entirely welcome. Okay, let me quickly get to what I've been doing. What I've been doing here. Okay, what I've been doing is, and I've talked about this before. I have an outline. Let me. Can I show you? No, let's not worry about that. I had an outline. I've taken each outline, broken it down into scenes. These are the scenes of the novel. There's about about 100 scenes, so some of them I already had some rough draft of. But what I've done is I've gone from the first scene all the way through, and I am writing the roughest of rough drafts. I mean the roughest, the shockingly bad roughest. Sometimes I have no idea what to write, and I just get some basic facts down there. And I'm now in the last 20 or 30 scenes. So I will be finishing it in the next week or two. This version, I'll be finishing the roughest of rough drafts. I cannot express how bad a lot of this is. A lot of it is incoherent, just like a sentence and a sentence, and sometimes they contradict each other. But what I think is really interesting is I cannot express how bad my rough text is and how useful it is. This is really, really something, especially as you keep going. you have what I like to call the downhill snowball effect. If you have a snowball and it's rolling down a snowy hill, as it rolls, it is going to gather little bits of more snow and get larger. As it gets larger, it is going to get denser and it's going to roll faster. Excuse me. So it's going to move faster and be more confident and sure and positive as it goes. So the thing you want to do is, as you keep working, like 2-3 weeks ago, when I had to sit down, I felt, I found a lot of excuses not to do it. Now, after 3 weeks of almost every day, and we're talking about maybe an hour a day. That's it. Like maybe, sometimes less. Maybe 4 or 5 of these little scenelets. Not a lot of work, but every day I do it, I find that the next day when I sit down, I feel a little more confident and excited and a little less eager to procrastinate or research or theorize. I'm just like, no, I'm doing this thing and it's actually gonna work. And so now I actually look forward to finding that hour to do that work. Whereas before it was like, it's such an emotional struggle to get myself to really get this going. So I want you to consider the downhill snowball effect when you are working. And if you take those first few steps, if you start the snowball rolling, and if you keep going, it will go. It will go faster and faster and better. So once again, I want to talk about this video, the small steps, because what's interesting is the steps are not exactly the same. Every step you take means you get to go a little faster, a little more surely every time. So when you look and you say, this is a journey of 1,000 miles, I guarantee you when you're about 20 miles in, you're going to be walking faster and better than you were on the first mile. All right. So that's my first thought. The next thought I have, and this is really important, is there is a lot you cannot know until you write. And this is really important. What I'm describing, as some of you may know, I have been making notes and plans and figuring out the story of this novel for over 20 years. Okay. Not every day, obviously. We're talking about sometimes months or even years go by when I didn't open up the document and look at it. But the main thing is, I've thought a lot about this, and especially in the past year, I've really gone scene by scene and thought, what is happening in this scene? Who are these characters? What is this story? What is this story twist? You would think I would have it down. As I write, I'm like, oh, wow. That is a repetitive to the last thing. It's not really making enough of a move. I have to change this scene. Or, oh, wow, I don't really know who these other characters are. So much that I don't know. And yet when I write and I say, okay, I need 4 people to be at this dinner with this couple. This couple is going out to a dinner. There's other people in the bar. And so I need them. I don't know who they are. I have to throw in some people. Okay, I can throw in 4 names. I make up 4 names. Cool. But then how am I going to let the reader distinguish between these people if they should be distinguished? And I say, okay, one of them is the one who's asking the creepy questions. Okay, that's the one important one. How do I make him interesting, stand out in their mind so they understand maybe that he's, something about his past or his job or something makes him distinctive to our characters. And all of a sudden, I did not know that stuff, okay? There's stuff that even with all my planning, I did not know. But the snowball gets going, and now every time I look at that, it's like, oh, now I do know, because I wrote, he was a professor of sociology, and he had, a glass eye, and all of a sudden I'm beginning to get a sense of that because I wrote down some rough, nonsensy text to try and make him distinctive, and then I'm like, oh, okay, now that character is beginning to come alive, and he's going to show up in other scenes, and it's beginning to, and I think, okay, well, what is his story? And I come up with his little mini arc. That's what happens as you take these little steps. So all I can say is, no matter, I talk a lot about thinking things through, but I urge you to not spend so much thinking that you're going to get it all done before you write. You will not. Okay, I'm going to quickly check some comments here. Okay. I did not know that Anne Rice's daughter died when she was 9 or 10 years old. And oh, that makes so much sense to that story. Interesting. Wow. Wow, I did not know that. That's really interesting. Hi, Ricky. Jean says, I'm 78. Cool. And I want to live forever. However, I wake up thinking this is it. It annoys me and everyone else, as long as you're not announcing, the boy who cried wolf, this is it, my last day, because after a while, people will just not pay attention. But you know what? It is not such a terrible thing inside yourself to think, if this is my last day, what do I want to do? Because the one thing, for me at least, that change and loss and life events do is they remind me of all the things I've been putting off and how much you shouldn't put things off. That's my thought. Okay. Greeting, Lake Filter, and Hunter. What is easier to write, a horror movie or a horror novel? Well, I mean, honestly, I'll just briefly answer this. It depends on the person. It depends on the project. If you're writing a horror novel that you just feel like you got a good grasp on the language, right? It could be easy. Generally, a script is easier to write just because there's less stuff in it. A novel usually has more. On the other hand, a novel has so much more flexibility. There's no easier. There's no right or wrong. Every single thing has its pluses and minuses. Good morning, so to speak, Hasko. Nice to see you. Thank you. Hunter. The question, does the statement, there's a lot you cannot know until you write, also apply when writing short stories? Yes, it applies to everything. Anything creative that you are going to do, remember, there is a lot that you cannot know until you write. And the other part about that is you don't just write it once. You write it and rewrite it and rewrite it. The spiral process, which I have talked about in another video. I will put a link in the description after this is done. But yes, you don't just plan and then write and then walk away with a finished project. You plan, you write, you realize your plan doesn't work, you go back and you replan, you write again. It's a long process. All right. Writing it out. Yes, this is definitely true. I'm trying to get my hand. Okay. Writing it out shifts your perspective and you feel whether it's working or not, especially rewriting. Yeah, exactly. Part of writing, it's like, since I have been thinking a lot about painting, imagine that you're doing a painting. It's like a representational painting. Or even not. The point is, whatever you do for your painting, you're going to start by getting some stuff on there, just getting some of the rough forms into the composition, colors, forms. You're going to get some. Then you're going to look at it and go, oh, that's not quite right. That's too big. That's too small. You can't possibly know if they're too big or too small till you look at them. So it's part of the process. I go through with all the planning, the story starts to change. That is exactly right. Currently, I would not write another screenplay because I'm old and I only have a certain amount of life left, and therefore, I just got to focus on what I'm focused on. The more I write, the more I cut out, but what's left is key. Yes, that's absolutely true. Yeah, from what I understand, The Stand was a big deal for Stephen King. It's a great novel. I like it. I've read it a couple times actually, and it's big. So, all right, let's talk about the other things that I've been learning. The first thing is anything you get on the page, it can be painfully bad. It can be less than useless. It doesn't matter. It starts you thinking and making choices. Like there's a party scene that I was writing, and this guy who's trying to break up this couple is watching the couple at the party, and another character comes over and says, "You think they're going to get married?" And I didn't know anymore. I just wrote it because I needed somebody to talk to him. I needed somebody to say something, and I thought it would be good if they were gossiping about the couple. So I just tried a line. I just wrote, "Do you think they're going to get married?" from this other character. And I just wrote down his first, the narrator's first instinct is, "I felt a daring desire to spoil things, to predict disaster, to drop some sand in the gears, even if indirectly. But And I stopped writing there. I was like, I don't know. It's just what came to me. It's like, what if I was sitting there, if I'm this character and I'm watching these people who I want to break up because I want to be in love with, I'm in love with the woman of this couple, and somebody comes over and says, you think they're going to get married? I thought, well, what are my possible responses? And I thought one would be, even like in a voodoo kind of way, in a magical thinking kind of way, he would say something negative. But so then I finished writing for the day, and I went and I was doing some life stuff, and I thought, you know what? I think he's surprised to feel protective of this couple because he's friends with both of them. And then I had the moment, this conflict he feels between wanting to break them up and actually caring about them. So the point is, I didn't have this scene. I tried writing some of it. I got something down. I didn't even know what it was. Then your brain starts to work once you have that. Until I had that question, I couldn't think about that thought, his response. And then I understood his character. And this is really important. This is part of the creative snowball, is you get to a point, and sometimes it can be like a couple drafts in, when you start to feel, I know these people. I know who they are, how they are reacting in this moment. You don't have to know all the details of their life. You don't have to know how the scene's going to go, but you begin to get a sense of who they are, partly from the pieces you do have. In other words, if you do have a certain scene, that will affect everything else you've got, because you've said, okay, I know that this happens exactly this way with these words. Once you have chosen some things, you start to be able to make more choices more easily, and the writing gets more and more exciting. You get actually to have a lot of fun, because you're like, oh, I know these people. I know what they're going to say. I don't have to dredge up something and make it up. It's like, I know that they're angry from that other scene, so they're going to be mean here. That's the thing that starts to happen as the snowball accumulates. It can't accumulate if you don't throw down something. Now, just for those who are interested in this particular story, what I've discovered about the main character, because the book is in the voice of this guy who's writing his memoirs. He's writing his memoirs in a little notebook. And one of the things I thought is, so I've got this voice of somebody who's writing a memoir. They're writing their memories, but they're not just remembering, they're actually crafting them, telling a story. Which is a tradition. I mean, there's hundreds, thousands, probably hundreds of thousands of books in which someone is recounting things that happened to them. So there's that voice, that storytelling, personal voice. But also, I've been looking at, I've got a lot of books. You can see over there, that's that whole shelf over there. That's just some of the books I've got to do research from. One of them, this giant thing here, it's a biography of Mark Rothko. It's really big. I really like the writing of it. It's in a particular tone, a biography that's also an art historical tone. And I love that tone. It's part of what I want to get into this story. And I realized Tom would have some of that tone, not just narrating, but also analyzing, describing, trying to explain art to people who don't understand it. And so when I was reading this book, I was like, how am I going to get this stuff in about the period? Because a big biography like that tends to talk about the world that the artist lives in. And I realized Tom would be thinking that way too. He would be trying to tell his reader about the art world. So he would just stop and tell you about that. He would weave it into the story. So that was an interesting thing to realize. Oh, this voice, I'm allowed to directly think that way, write that way. I'm going to do a little more before I get to your comments. The other thing I want to talk about is ritual. I did a video called Create a Ritual, which I urge you to look at. The link is down below already. Because what I've discovered here is I haven't written a novel in a long time. I haven't written anything except these videos for 3 or 4 years. Before that, I had tried to really make my ritual, especially for screenwriting. I knew how I would write a script, and I did it all the time. The interesting thing is that your ritual changes. For one thing, I found that I used to really need to go directly from waking up in the morning to writing. It was just like that was my ritual. And now I actually can't do that. I need to actually wake up a little, have some coffee, read the newspaper or something, take care of a little stuff, and then I feel ready to sit down. I don't know, maybe I've biologically changed. I don't know. Maybe the world has changed because the internet. I don't know. All I know is that your ritual changes. And I wanted to explain to you that you don't need to set your ritual and then lock it in and never change it at all. Your ritual is going to change as you change, as your life changes. We were just talking about how our lives change. Things change. We have to move. We have to live in a different house or work on a different schedule. Things are going to change. So you want a portable ritual. That's my point, is that you want a ritual. And I talk about that a lot in this video. You want a ritual that fits your reality. If your reality changes, you need to have your ritual change too. And the other thing is, your ritual is going to change a little bit because every piece of work is a little different. And therefore, you're going to come into it with a little different mindset, a little different attitude. You're going to have different challenges. Whatever it is, the point about creating a ritual is not that there's once again, you'll hear this from me a lot, there's not one right answer, not even one right answer for you. Art is constantly changing and flexing and flowing. What I need to know for myself is I need a ritual. I don't need this ritual. So that therefore, for me, getting the documents organized in a certain way so that when I open it, I know this is what I have to do today. I just have to do these two little steps, and each one is a little block in the document, a little document of itself in a larger collection of documents. The main thing is I just know when I have to work, I don't go here or there. I sit at my computer, I open the document, and I look at the next piece of the unwritten outline. Or sometimes I jump around, but the point is I know that I open the document and look at, and the work is in there. That, for me, is how I set my ritual. I think it's really important to have some form that is so familiar. Once again, like I said, it's like that snowball can't roll downhill if every day you're pushing it in a different direction, or you're starting to push it uphill, or you're saying, okay, now this snowball has to have mittens on it or something. Try and do the same thing through the course of the project, whatever it is that fits you. Okay. Okay, now I'm going to quickly go back, look at some of those comments. Okay. All right, Lake Filter says, I no longer prep every minute detail before writing. I find that stressing about those details after I'm sorry, it's very bright here today, so I'm trying to, there we go, trying to get the text to show up against the background. I find that stressing about those details after I went through the scenes helps me. After I went through the scenes. Yeah, okay, this is interesting, Lake. This is kind of what I'm talking about. Sometimes by writing the bad version, your next pass of understanding it just narrows down. It gets easier. You say, oh, I don't need to do that, or I do need to do this. Whatever it is, sometimes you need to have the thing, you need to have the sketch in front of you. You need to have the scene, the words. Sometimes just a word, a phrase will click, and you'll go, okay, at least I know that phrase. Like that somebody says, I wanted to throw sand in the gears. That was a quote from and I was just trying to write, how can I describe this guy wanting to mess up this other people's relationships? And I said, like, throw sand in the gears. And I thought, okay, now that's going to be, now I understand that feeling. And those words fit that feeling, and I'll probably keep them in. That's really a good idea sometimes. Sometimes you need to stop and step out and analyze and plan. But sometimes you need to sketch and make a mess and pile up the clay so that you can make your choices. It's all about choices. Okay. Is it okay to take a break and reread books or watch movies to gain depth? Yeah. Actually, I am, wait, there we go. Okay. Yes, I am doing that exact same thing. One of the things is, like I said, I'm not writing a lot of the time. I'm only writing a little bit at a time right now. So, an hour or two a day. There's a lot left in the day. Now, I have to go shopping. There's errands to do. There's people to take care of. There's cooking to do. There's dry cleaning to take in and pick up. But the main thing is, even then, yes, spending a little time replenishing your creative inspiration and just getting into the language. I've actually, Gene, I found one of the things I've had to learn is while I was writing screenplays, I didn't let myself read fiction that much because it was a different language, a different way of thinking. And I was afraid of it because it was distracting me from the language of screenwriting. Now, it's been 20 years where I haven't read that much fiction. I am finding I need to go back, reread some books or read a new book. It doesn't matter. What I've discovered is I have to stop reading so much nonfiction. I spend a lot of time, too much time, on the internet reading essays about society and politics and all the things that are going on in our busy world. And there's people constantly writing little essays and analyses and stuff, and it's fascinating and I love it. It takes up too much of my brain space. So I'm trying to say to myself, you know what? When I feel that need, instead of reading the magazines that I read online, stop, read a book, read a story, read a novel. So yeah, that's, for me, that has been an important part of it. As Haskell says, you have to recharge. That you definitely have to do that. Okay, thank you. Yeah, I do. I think it's really important. The joy is in the journey of writing. You gotta like it a little bit. Okay. My novel is all there, but in chunks that I need to organize. Didn't do an outline. Fine. So I wrote a 4-page synopsis to remind myself how much fun the story is. And yeah, exactly. Sometimes you write the story and then you write the outline. Sometimes, excuse me. Sometimes, you have to stop and reanalyze just a piece of it. There's no right or wrong way. It's a constant churning process. But yes, sometimes it really helps to tell yourself the story just so you can say, oh, this is a good story. I want to I want to find a way to make that work. No, there is an exact tone. This guy has a certain voice, which is just building in my head. Just every character, when you write them, if you write enough of them, they will get a style. Some people will be sort of snarky. This guy's style is, it's influenced by the fact that he's writing in the 20th century. He's got a certain style there, and all I can say is the tone. I discovered the tone by trying to write it. And as I started to write, I remember this, or at this party, this guy was annoying to me. Whatever it was I was writing, that voice, the more you write it, the more you know it, and then you can write more of it. So that's how I got the voice. And what I realized was, if he's writing this story, and partly I'm borrowing it from other books. There's one of my favorite novels in the whole world is called The End of the Affair by Graham Greene. An amazing book. And there's a certain tone in that I sort of steal in a little bit from. But then also The Great Gatsby is another narrated story. Anything which was narrated, I'm trying to sort of steal those voices. Portable Rituals would be a great title for a book. Yes, that is true. You get scared I won't get work done. Yeah, I get that. Just try and get something done. I am working on this novel with a stack of ideas and outlines from novels that I'll probably never get to write. But that's okay. If I can just get this one done, I will feel better. What are the questions that do have the right answers? Sent with love, of course. That's absolutely. As I run into them, I try to tell them. For instance, if you're like, whatever the question is, if the answer does not lead to you being able to do the thing you want to do, it's probably the wrong answer. And so therefore the right answer would be something else. Overall, I would say you have to get me on the specifics. There may be questions that do have right answers or wrong answers. I try to put the right answers into these. That's where I try and put my right answers. Okay. Math 101. Yeah. There are certain things, but you know what? In Math 101 and creative writing, obviously the joke is it's not math, but there are some things that are right answers. Or, are there like absolute right or wrong answers? I would say not working is a bad thing. It's like, but you see, sometimes you need to take a break. So, tough one. Okay. You put out fires. Yeah. Okay. That's fair. But you know what's funny? Because I've talked about this before. The reason that I came to this sense that I had to have a ritual was because I was literally working as an office temp. I was at sometimes a different desk every day. My schedule was different every day. Everybody I talked to and everything I did was different every day. So I needed a way to work in that life of constant putting out fires. I had to find a way to say, okay, the ritual will be simply go opening this notebook. And in this notebook, there is a plan. And in that plan, there are spaces to be sketched in. And then those sketches are to be revised. That's the ritual. But the rest of my life was chaos. Yes, you can do this. Ricky, Jean, all of you. Absolutely. Yes. Hello, Wolf. All right, so I'm heading towards stopping. Yeah. Yeah. Alec and Learn to Teach are having some fun. Okay. Imogen, very nice to see you. I have been going back and forth from writing and reading. So I'm putting my hand up just so that I have some way to see. Hold on. Here. There we go. Okay. Sorry. It's an old piece of felt used under coffee cups. Just love being immersed in all things story. I go back and forth between outlines and pantsing and allowing myself to jumble it up. So I can sometimes put the pieces together or save it for my own backstory reference. Yeah, this is Imogen, that is perfect. You've got a process that makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense for you, certainly. If for some reason there's I know people who need to totally overanalyze everything before they can write a word. Everybody is different, but I really like the idea that you go back and forth from writing and reading and just immersing yourself and then getting material, and then you can figure out what to do with the material. That's all good. I find it refreshing to read outside of the genre I'm writing too. I do, but for me, lately, I'm getting distracted. I get inspired in other directions. And sometimes you need to keep your inspiration, at least if you're me, you need to keep your inspiration somewhat blindered, so that it doesn't lose the path. Okay, so we're going to wind down here. Very relatable. Thank you. Watching an amazing movie like Dune 2 was incredible, but it makes you really envious of their style and tone while writing a grounded drama. This is one of the big problems, certainly for me too. If I'm watching, a comedy, or if I'm reading a political essay, I will be wanting to do that. I will be wanting to everything is inspiring. So sometimes I need to just say to myself, okay, right now I'm writing a grounded drama. Today's challenge is to like grounded dramas. Tomorrow I will do an epic space odyssey. Yeah. I think I've read End of the Affair. Yeah. End of the Affair is marvelous. Okay. My characters have started creating their own backstory. Yes. Yeah, exactly. The more you work, the snowball will build up its own momentum and it will become a big thing. No, I did not. It's always, my live streams are, as far as I can always tell, 1 p.m. Wednesday, Pacific Standard Time. Okay. You are welcome, welcome, welcome. No, it hasn't been an hour, but I'm stopping early because I'm sick. I have a cold and I need to stop early. Okay. Do I have a favorite movie currently? No, I never have a favorite movie. I always have like 50 favorite movies. Yeah, and that's just me. And I'm not saying that it's just like, I just can't do it. Somebody said list 100 favorite movies. I would actually have a hard time narrowing it down. At very worst, finish it in the first and then go back and third person it. Lake was saying that he had written a novel in the first person, as he's done many of them, and about halfway through he started thinking, this might be better in the third person. There's two options. One, stop, go back, rewrite it. Or two, finish it and then rewrite the whole thing. Or I guess there's three. Three is start to like it as first. Okay. We can't compare our works in progress to a polished piece. We have no idea what peeking behind the curtain of a seemingly flawed. Yes, actually, this is really, really true, Imogen. One of the things I would urge you to do is read biographies of artists that you like. If you like a certain writer, see if they write a biography or autobiography. See if there's behind the scenes. If you're watching a movie, you'll be amazed at sometimes the backstory of how much they did not know what it was going to be when they were working on it. Okay, thank you. I am going to finish up now. I hope that you all go write something.